In this lesson, we're going to look at how we can use methods or functions from other programs that we have used previously. So I've got some code here. You can actually see there are two different Python programs that are created. We've done this in Trinket. We've got main.py and stringmethods.py. In our main.py, I have imported from string methods, from the other program, import star, and this imports all of the functions that we've made in this program. So let's have a look at this other program. You can see the second set here at the bottom says we've got a function called empty string check. That's just the name I've given it, and we're expecting some form of string which is being passed to this function. All this function is checking how long the string is. So I've used a while loop here. While the length of the string is less than 1, it's going to print you didn't enter anything, try again, and it's going to ask the user to input a value again. Only once the value is larger than 1 character, so basically there is something there, we're going to return the string. You can see the output of the code on the right hand side. So it says, what is your name? So if we look back at the first piece of code, our second line on line 3 says name equals empty string check. Now that function is not inside our program, but we can call that whenever we want to. So we're going to say input what is your name? And then you can see in our example, we've left it blank every time, so it's going to say you didn't enter anything, try again, until the user actually enters a value. So pause the video, and there are two questions at the bottom of the screen which I want you to try and answer. Now the first one is, what are the benefits of this? Now hopefully you should have come up with the fact that you can reuse code. Once you've written something, you've got it there, it's done, it's finished, and you can just keep reusing it. And the second thing would be, how could you apply this to other areas of code? Now you will know that during lessons I always ask you to add validation. I always say, please add validation, please add validation. Well, once you've got a series of these different programs, you can just keep calling them. You don't need to keep writing them. All you'd need to do is import your string methods, and you've got easy validation written for you already. Let's have a look at this actually in Trinket. Here's my code. You can see I've got my two different programs. Here's my string methods one that I've written. With a function, it's got nothing else. Nothing else will happen with this code if I was to run this program. It's got no other functionality apart from this function. Here's my main code. Now I could do anything in here. Remember, I've imported my code, so when I run it, you can see it says, what's your name? If we leave it blank, it's going to keep going until you actually put something in, and the program finishes. Now to add a new program in Trinket, you need to click on the plus create text file. You can give it a name. But in here, remember that you must call it .py. We need to let the computer know what kind of file it is. Even though it tells us it's Python 3, and this will be the same if you use idle, you still need to save it as .py. So your next task is, I want you to think of a common set of methods that you might use. I ask you regularly to use validation. What kind of things might you use regularly? Pause the video and try and write down a list. So now hopefully you have created a list of common things. They might include checking that there's actually a value in a string. It might be checking that the user has inputted a number. It might be checking that the user has inputted text. It might be that the user has inputted any kind of data in a certain way. I want you now to go away and first of all write the code that I've just written. I want you to duplicate that to make a function to actually check if there is code present, so like a length check. And then secondly, I want you to try and create a series of methods which you could use in the future. Remember though, we are using functions in our work. They should all have a similar structure. If I go back to this, we should have clear names so we know what we are calling. Now remember, these are local variables, so this is why it's important to use local variables and have different variable names, because main has no idea about string methods. It's just going to send it a value, which is what we've typed in, and receive a value back. So this is an independent program. So we need to return something. There's no point using procedures here, because if they're not returning anything, that just makes it useless doing this. You can see I have used string in this circumstance, and I've used some iteration to make sure that the user keeps being given options until they answer the correct values.